It should be live. All right, Joe. We back. We're live.
2024 wrapped up, and what are we on now? This is our 12th episode. This is our 1 year anniversary.
This is the 1 year anniversary of the show. And it's been a full year of the podcast, over 6,000 minutes watched. There's
2024
actually hold on.
I think it's going on your phone there, Marcus.
over 6,000 minutes watched, 15,000 impressions, over 400 people have attended. It's been amazing. It's been a great year. And so I'm excited for today as we close out the year, this evolution of engagement, our live show. And I'm when you think about 2024 and the things we've covered, from the emotion that we want people to invoke when they go to events, to some of our favorite events, and recapping our moments. What are some things that stood out from you, and what are some of your favorite episodes so far? It's okay to say they're all your favorite as well.
Yeah, I might have that might be a hard one for me, honestly. But if anyone, obviously, to everyone who's attended over the last 12 episodes, 12 months, I think that is an important thing. If you can go back and watch any of them, or if you remember like what were the highlights. We had a lot, Marcus, where you and I were just recapping events that we had gone to, just prior, and then we had guests throughout those 12 episodes as well. So it's just been a really amazing time to recap and delve into experiential and kind of see what's been going on. And I think that's the essence of what this 1 year anniversary one is like, because we also have an amazing guest that is going to be on today, and she's the founder and CEO of XP Land, and she was also head of experiences and experiential at Condé Nast and Architectural Digest in the past. So she has that editorial background, and then that experiential. But in the essence of what experiential is, to my opinion, which is more about the emotional storytelling and the immersive multisensory engagements. So we're really going to find some great nuggets from her. And then we'll close out and get ramped up for 2025, which I'm told is going to be even more explosive of an era of experiential. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, you gave a little bit of bio about our guest today, so I'm excited because that means some gems are gonna be dropped. It means that I'm gonna have to get my typing, and share some gems from today. So, I first off, again, welcome to the final episode of Evolution of Engagement for 2024. Thank you all who have joined us throughout the year, who have just jumped in as we went on. And again, this is a community for those who work in the experiential, the marketing, the campaign space on all sides, from art directors to producers to all vendors that support experiential. Your knowledge is welcome. We thank you. I know it's definitely the end of the year. It's really tough because you balance the holidays plus a lot of the big events that close out the year. Not to say the top of the year is going to be even,
Yeah, I mean, honestly, everyone who's
All-
going to CES, people are like, yeah, no, I'm signing off for the rest of the year. But then there's the busyness of literally January, 6th when it starts up, and you're just like, wow, it gets intense. So, but yeah, man, let's I'm really excited to bring Erica in. She is truly a powerhouse in this industry, and I've had the pleasure to meet her and attend her events as well, and just super excited to have her on and for us to talk.
Cool. We'll bring Erica up now.
Hello. Hi, guys.
What's up?
This is so fun already. I've been just in your studio audience, and now I get to come on stage with you guys. So congrats on a year.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Yeah, Marcus, you and I, we met only in person twice in this entire tenure of knowing one another, and we met at Cannes Lion, and we met at Art Basel last year. And it was actually last Art Basel when we said, let's do this. Let's just do it. Create a safe space of just talking, almost almost no agenda, which I'm sure, Erica, as you noticed yesterday when we were emailing, I'm like, look, this is really just fluid and kind of random, but it's supposed to be.
Good.
So we just really wanted to have someone to close out this year with us. And I thought with everything you're doing and everything that's ramping up for next year too, I just wanted to bring you on. And I've always appreciated and valued your expertise and your knowledge, and I'm just excited to have you on. So
Well, and you too. You both of you are kind of always roaming the world. I never know where you're going to show up next and show me some cool things. And I think it just shows how important what we do is to the world, and how exciting it is that people are finally kind of getting it, right? It's how many times have we had to explain what experiential is, or why experiences matter, and especially you guys are more in the experiential marketing field. But to advertising community, you guys met at Cannes Lion. What cracks me up is like such little airtime in terms of the panels and the content that is shared there is about experiential. And I'm like, the whole thing is experiential that you're creating, right? So it's awesome to feel that the world is finally understanding what we do and why it transforms how people see and experience the world. So it's powerful.
it is. And I really love that you just touched on that, because I totally agree. When you kind of think of the industry as a whole, that doesn't always realize how intricate and present that our industry is at all events and things. I mean, Adweek just released that experiential awards, and I'm like, well, that's really great that they're recognizing. And it's not, granted, I love Event Marketer, I love BizBash, but those tend to be about the event world, obviously. For
Yeah.
Adweek, that advertising editorial, magazine and publication, they're like, hey, look, experiential needs its own award. So I thought that's pretty fascinating.
Totally. I agree. And, I like to zoom out even further. And Joe, we've talked about this. Like when I look at experientials in industry, I do think of experiential marketing as just one piece of the pie, right? I look at things like Coachella, festivals. I look at sports. I look at immersive theater. I look at Snoop in Fortnite. Like these are all experiences. I look at Pride Month, right? I look at, museums and attractions and Netflix opening, a brick and mortar, right? So when you zoom out and look at what experiential is on the whole, I think for experiential marketers, the opportunity is really to say, look across that spectrum and say, what cool things are these people doing? What are these artists doing? What are these, immersive playwrights doing? What are the stories that are being told in this live environment? Because the most important thing is that we're in the business of goosebumps or awe, right? We get people to feel things. And the ad community, that's the holy grail, right? Yeah. We want to get people to feel things, whether it's through a 30-second spot or a really cool, snap filter on your phone. But even though creating great experiences is harder to do, it's longer lasting. Right. It stays with you. We get people to feel things, and in your world, experiential marketing, about a product or a brand that stays with them. And that is it's a long tail, but it's a really effective way to win over hearts and minds.
It is. I guess it's funny. I know I mentioned there's a question I like to ask every guest that we have, and Marcus already knows it, but I usually end but I wanted to just go right into it, considering you kind of were touching on the emotional aspect of our industry. What is one of the top emotions that you found to be the most impactful or influential at an experience, whether that be a trade show, corporate event, pop-up, retail? I'm just curious, what are the top emotions if you have multiple,
Yeah. Well, look, you came to our experiential upfronts in Montreal with that amazing group of creative people. And I love that stage moment where I called our Annie Leibovitz moment, where we had all of these players, right, from everywhere around our industry. We had, sports, Brooklyn Nets, Ron, we had Essence Festival, we had Fast Company, we had Randy Weiner, one of the creators of Sleep No More, right? All on stage. So, and that was a moment where I'm like, gathering is so essential to the human experience that I felt like I was surrounded by these awesome, goosebump creators, right? But in terms of, something that I experienced myself, my favorite event of the last couple of years is this experience called the Infinite that the Phi Center in Montreal worked with Felix and Paul, a member of our X list, which we'll get to in a bit. But it was basically a VR, a communal VR experience where you felt like you were, on the International Space Station and experiencing the overview effect, right? Wow. It was VR, guys, but everyone in our group, they were like a set of stars that I could tell, like my group of 10, we were gold stars and everyone else was like blue or green. So I was seeing something so incredible and I wanted to grab the person next to me. At least I knew they were part of my group. I didn't know exactly who they were, but I knew they were someone I knew. And just tears about this is so powerful. This feeling of, I know what it feels like to be on the International Space Station. I know what it feels like to look at the world from above and feel connected. Like, and that maybe connected is my emotion. Yeah. I felt connected with my people that I was there with, but the world, right? And that is what the overview effect, Google it. That's what astronauts feel when they look at the Earth from afar. And for me, human, putting this on and being able to feel like that, that's the power of what we do. We can put people in other people's shoes and we can get them to feel things. And I'm just obviously like such a Kool-Aid drinker of Experiential because I can't wait to do this shit with all of you and with cool brands who really want to go for it,
Marcus, are we gonna drop the mic? Because that was pretty good right there. That was just, are we just done now? Or just that was our 1 year anniversary.
Well, I am talking too much. You guys tell me.
No, that's the point. That was actually exactly, when you think about it, anyone could say an emotion, right? Like, and I love that. I love when people say like, oh, love, fear, nostalgia, any of these emotions. But you were going for like a literal and figurative sense of connectedness, and that's a really interesting dialogue, and I love that. So thank you for sharing.
Yeah, and I agree. And so as you explain that, I think what I want to share with the audience is a little bit of your background, right? Like you don't get to see a CEO or a co-founder without going through the journey and climbing this ladder. Could you share a little bit of like just some highlights of the moments, the pivotal changes, or kind of the big jumps you made along the way? And it's okay to brag a little bit, that's why we're here.
Oh, you guys are awesome. Well, and I'll start with a question. Maybe when I'm done, I'll ask each of you. We like to ask people, what was your experiential awakening, right? Like, when did you realize you had this call to gather? Because I think that's what all of us have in common, right? We probably love going to experiences and we love hosting them. It's a good topic on the eve of all of these holiday gatherings. But, look, I started gathering. I was like the ringleader of my sister's 8th birthday party. I forced my family to have Thanksgivings with logos and swag. Like my first job was at the San Francisco Giants, where there are 162 gatherings a year and a season has this storytelling arc, right? Then I ended up at Condé Nast, where, it's funny, events used to be like this add-on, right? Come buy all this media, and then you get to be part of GQ Men of the Year or Glamour Women of the Year or Teen Vogue Summit. But that was such a fun co-creation with the editors because they got to bring that brand to life. But we also got to work with advertisers to say, hey, and you know us at Condé, we are very precious about the brand. So, hey, I'm trying to think of Bombay Sapphire. We did the very first GQ lounge. And I see this everywhere, but I'm telling you, we were the ones to invent it. We were like, instead of just having bottles on the back of the bar, let's build a chandelier. And this was like the year 2001. We were like, let's build a chandelier out of your bottles and make it part of the decor. Like that kind of stuff of like, let's not just do a logo on a napkin, step and repeat? Can we do cool shit that enhances the experience? And that's kind of, so all those years I kind of built great experiential brands around some really great IP. Fast Company built out their creative studio. And then I went back to Condé Nast and was tasked to go shopping for a few experiential agencies and let's buy them. So that was fun. I got to see in everybody's books, got to see experiential. The business is, I think a tough business when you are an agency that is just doing the building, right? A lot of your costs are just coming in and out. But it was really that kind of storytelling and that heart and soul of the event that was more interesting. So, and Joe, we talked about this. You talked about brands sitting around the table and being like, hey, I don't know that I'm really getting a lot out of writing a big check to some of these tent poles anymore. It just feels like there's clutter. Maybe I'm not like, making the getting the press or the buzz or the story that I need to tell. So I'm going to do a standalone. Mm-hmm. And my story of how I ended up jumping out of a corporate environment and doing my own thing starts with a brand called Sephora. So I was sitting across from them, big fans of them, love Sephora. Jess is on our council, but sitting with them and they were like, hey, Glamour Women of the Year, not sure if that's the direction we're going to go this year. We're actually launching Sephora. And it was the first time I'd seen a brand recognize their own fandom in that way. And this was years ago now, but they said, we're going to host an event. We're going to charge money for tickets. We're going to bring our own sponsors in. And I was like, wow. So I think these big festivals are in that same moment that media was in, where you used to have to kind of go and piggyback off the ride of somebody else's IP. And now you're like, hey, maybe I have my own IP. Maybe I have my own fandom and community that I can create a really specialized message for. So anyway, that's a long way of getting from there to here. But do you guys, do you want to like go in that direction, or do you want to talk about your experiential awakening?
No, I mean, I want to definitely, give credit of when you're saying all of that, that's totally accurate with what I'm seeing, that brands and agencies are both kind of looking at things and saying, hey, what tentpole events do we want to attend? It's not to say that they're not important or that you shouldn't go to any of these things. Like, absolutely. If you're a particular brand and you're saying South by Southwest is important to me, well, now they're also factoring in, do we go to South by Southwest London in 2025? And like, I get it, you assess it all. And then you have other brands like we were all talking about a little bit before when we went live here is, do you have the fandom? Do you have the brand loyalty? Do you have the equity to put on your own IP, your own individual, experience? And so there's that level of all of that too.
Totally. Marcus, what were you going to say?
Yeah, I was going to say, so what I love about your journey and is also recognizing moments where you see there's blue space and blue ocean is what they call it in some book. I think it's called Blue Ocean Strategy. But you see the blue ocean, he's like, oh, I need to go in this direction, and you capitalize and you double down on these moments. And we like you said, we were talking about just how do brands really take their fandom and use it to grow their fandom, but also connect deeper with their audiences. And Sephora did that. A few other brands that we see today have really locked in on that. You look at one thing I've noticed from Complex Con this year is that their partnership with Travis Scott allowed Travis to really just take it to that next level of partnership and him being seen amongst his fans, like, oh, okay, he's more of the brand. There's already a brand tie with him, but he just leaned right into his fandom even more and made an experience. He built a castle or something like that inside of Complex Con.
It was incredible. And also, like, not that this matters as much as it used to, but like a great New York Times piece that, I love the coverage of our world more and more from the mainstream press, because we used to just kind of be these add-ons, right? And now
add-on, yep.
I mean, and that was, I think COVID was a big cause of that. Like what's the one thing we all missed was the gathering. And then of course, when you have Taylor Swift, Beyonce impacting GDPs and taking travel to a whole new, I think these kind of adjacent industries of like social media industry. Do events happen without social media? Does social media happen without events? Travel.
Yeah.
Look at how people are traveling for, it's no longer revenge travel, it's revenge experiential travel, right?
Yeah.
That's a great point. It's almost like the chicken and egg paradox. Which one came first? Which one, it's experiential complements this and the other complements this. It's vice versa. It's fascinating. And
right.
For the sake of, because I really want to hear about what you got coming up, if you're able to share any of it. But I know Marcus and I would be remiss if we didn't ask, like, you and XP Land and the whole team, by the way, that the ones I've been fortunate to meet, you guys have such a unique way of capturing our industry from like a holistic level. Like, I've never seen so much being shared about what's going on globally. Like, if anyone who's obviously watching this or going to watch it or is connected to you, Erica, like, please go and sign up for the newsletter, because that recap that you get every month of like what's going on is just amazing. And I just want to highlight that, and also have you kind of just talk more about it, if you don't mind.
You're so kind. I love hearing that. And you've been like with us from the very beginning. So, I think how we look at the world differently is that it comes from my editorial background, right? I come from this space of like, I don't want to only talk about branded activations, because there's so much the brands can learn from immersive theater. What is the Sleep No More team? What are they doing next? There's a really cool, April Cleveland is a former Sleep No More performer that has a little theater troupe out in Santa Fe, and they're doing really cool stuff with like just making you think about your relationship with technology by putting you as an attendee in the experience. It's participatory experience, which I think is a trend. But XP Land, I think we just see it as live storytelling of all forms on all platforms. And that is a halftime show that at Super Bowl, that's the Olympic guys, the heavy metal Marie Antoinette moment, like the fact that the Olympics use the whole city as their stadium. I just, at XP Land, we are constantly looking for trends and insights. I can't cover every event in the world. Right. That is what Eventbrite tries to do. That's what Fever tries to do. And that I think that's I guess one of my complaints about how our industry is treated is that it's a little bit like a one size fits all. Like the ads I get from people like an Eventbrite or a Fever are telling me that I want to go to the Taylor Swift candlelight thing, and like, please look at my demographic. That is not of interest to me. But it isn't one size fits all. It's like, that would be like treating the movie industry like it's one size fits all.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I think the challenge of defining what we do is something that we're trying to help with at XP Land. We are the voice, the community, and a resource for this community or for the industry. But look, I've used this example all the time. When you're making a movie, whether you're making an indie movie or a blockbuster, the way you make a movie, you start with the IP, you film it, you cast it, you film it, you edit it, and then you distribute it. It's basically the same framework. The supply chain is pretty basic. For what we do, everything is so different and bespoke. The halftime show is nothing like getting ready for CES, is nothing like getting ready for an immersive theatrical performance, is nothing like getting ready for the Pooh-Pourri exhibit at South by, right? So it's hard for people to get their heads around, like, what is it that we do? So we're really trying to define the language that we use, elevate how we talk about it, because there are a lot of great voices out there. Event Marketer, BizBash, Blue Loop, they talk about attractions, meaning museums and Disneyland rides, which that's still in our world. We sit at the center of this. And the example, I'll bring it back to our world. We were at South by last year. We hosted a panel with the head of creative from the Sphere, head of community for San Antonio Spurs, and the head of technology for the Eras Tour. Those three people would have never been on the same stage, even a couple years ago. The Eras would have been at music, Sphere would have been, I don't know, real estate, and then, the San Antonio Spurs would have been sports. But it is fandom, it is community, it is live experience that is coming together. And there's so much we all stand to learn from each other and grow together, because it's going to be a $3.6 trillion business in the next 5 years. I know there's a lot of talk about AI, but Sam Altman himself said
Right.
there's going to be a premium and a huge market for live experiences in the next 5 to 10 years. So the robots can't build the stages, guys. The robots can't create goosebumps yet. They can help. It's a tool for us. But yeah. I feel so good about where we stand in the center of this,
It's go ahead, Marcus.
I was going to say, I think like you're right about the AI. I've had conversations with people and they're like, no, they would kind of like be against it. And once you learn how to use it to make you faster and think bigger, and you learn how to write prompts. And I say, once you learn how to write prompts and think like that, then you just use it as a tool. It's the same as a Google Doc or a PowerPoint doc or whatever. Like, it's just a tool for you to use. And I think that from an experiential standpoint, I've been through so many rounds of thoughts on different softwares for experiential. I'll save that for a different day. But it exists, or it's going to exist. And, being a part of that, or having the pulse, Erica, as you have shared, like that, it's coming, and it's being ready for that.
It's gonna be it's interesting. I love it all. I think my favorite word of 2024, if we're gonna recap it, is interesting, because this year we got to see how amazing the entire industry is, but also to your point, Erica, and I know Marcus, you and I have talked about it too. That experiential world just means so much more now. And it's kind of bled into other industries and other facets of what we do. And I'm really intrigued to see where it's going to go, because from what I've observed, record profits will be predicted for the travel industry next year. There's obviously a lot of people that are looking to activate at different events. Agencies, I mean, I'm an agency guy, right? Agencies, I always believe a rising tide lifts all ships. Like, the more and more agencies talk to each other. I would love to do a panel where I bring agencies from all different areas and bring them up on one panel and talk, because again, there's just different aspects of things, and yet we all can learn from one another. So,
and let's get better. No, one of my Area 15, one of the creative director over there was like, our biggest enemy is mediocrity. Like the more Willy Wonka experiences, the more the Bridgerton pole dancing experiences. Did you guys hear about that one? It was in Detroit. Yeah. So, AI can create some really gorgeous marketing, but it's really dangerous when you show up at these events and you're like, wait, I was duped, a la the Fire Festival. Do we really only have 2 minutes left?
We can keep going. I mean, unless you guys want to. I mean, I'm able to for a little bit more.
Well, I could do a little bit more. I wanted to hit people with some trends, because I feel like I want people to have some nuggets. So I think I mentioned this a little bit earlier, participatory and kayfabe. So Julian Rad is an awesome creative in our space, and he talked about kayfabe. Google it. Don't get me to go off on wrestling, but kayfabe is this idea of, are these people acting? Are they real? Is this, it's the Star Wars ride at Disneyland, where you are in line and the characters are engaging with you as if you are an actual character in the play, right? So this whole participation in kayfabe, and I think brands could have a hell of a lot of fun with that. Original IP, Lou Pesante, shout out to him. Original IP. I think, Joe, we chatted early in the green room about the Motorola Razr and Cirque du Soleil promotion. Creating an origin story for the Razr flip phone, that's brilliant. And so borrow from that original IP world to help your commercial IP world. Multisensory, definitely. I think multisensory and the wellness trend are coming together. I just saw something about like the ASMR studios and like,
Yeah.
just like audio, spatial audio, and a lot of the technology can go hand in hand. But rather than like, Anne Morrow Johnson said this, rather than like a raucous festival, so many crowds, like, yeah, we all know what that's like. Again, we missed that, the pendulum swung. But how about like calm, intentional gatherings, like
Yeah.
wellness retreats, small. I think I said my prediction was small is the new big, really, I was on this leadership trip last year. We were in Barcelona and there were 10 of us. And like, I still chat with those people on the daily basis. Like that's a deep connection.
Erica, I'm very happy you touched on that one, only because I can still, I never had the chance to experience this, but he's a close friend and just someone that I looked up to in the industry. His name's Josh Horowitz, and he created Fake Love, that experience creative agency. Him and I are from the same hometown, and I remember seeing a case study that Fake Love did, and it was, I think, for 7-Up, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe it was Mountain Dew, something, I forget. But I know the experience that I remember because I read about it and I was like, oh my God, it's all about haptic feedback for people who, like if you were deaf, and just needed to want to experience sound. They built like a stage that like had this haptic feedback so you could feel the music. And I thought, this was years ago. This is why I remember the case study. And I just thought that multi-sensory, it doesn't always have to be about every single sense being engaged.
Right.
But boy, if you can harness one and you can provide that intricate level of experience and evoke the emotions through it, that's really cool. So
I love it. And it was in the ad week piece where they had the Tottenham Spurs. They gave fans who were deaf these jerseys that allowed them to feel the applause and the energy, because that's incredible, right?
Huge.
And then
So,
sorry.
So Erica, you mentioned kayfabe, which I've never heard of. So I'm over here. I gotta have that one. Kayfabe. Wellness, which I agree, the wellness retreat. I just did something for one of my clients. We had influencers go out and they basically spent 3 days at a wellness facility and they created amazing content from that.
Yeah.
Intentional gatherings, multi-sensory activities. There was something else you said. I want to make sure we get some more in here.
So it's weird to call it original IP. I would say like editorial IP, but really like, either we were talking about this, guys. It's like, do you have a brand that has existing fandom, that has an editorial voice, that is able to tell those stories in a really transformative way? If so, awesome. You're way ahead of the game. If you don't, which look, Motorola imported that from Cirque du Soleil, right? So find that collaborator, and this is a good segue to the X list. Find those creatives, find those storytellers, find those pure art, editorial type storytellers, artists, creatives, and go work with them. And that's why we created the X list. So the X list is our, editorially selected list. We did 100 last year. I cannot commit to how many we're doing. We have to see how many entrants we get. We're launching it in January. I'm going to be out in LA at the Next Stage Summit talking about it, kind of a call for entries. And last year, our editorial team selected it, and also our council of about 15. So we're expanding our council to about 25 people, and we are now opening the entries for the first time. Because look, I think the reason we started XP Land is because like guys, it's like our Rolodexes. Hey, Joe, who have you worked with that's super cool in the culinary space? Hey, it's like we need to sit in the middle of this and organize this industry and bring it together. So what we want to do is say, hey, the 25 people on my council that I think are the coolest people I know in this world, I want their input, but then I want all of their networks input. And we just want to bring together the most interesting visionary voices in our space. And it's not just artists. I mean, we have Lisa McKnight from Barbie was on there. Greg Lombardo from Netflix. We've got some really of the cooler agencies on the list as well, because I think some agencies are obviously pushing the envelope more than others, right? We have cool venues, like the Area 15s, like Ariel Foxman and what he did with the Boston Seaport. I think communities, I think here's another trend for you, Marcus, public and private partnerships to make destinations and communities more experiential. So like even New York City, we obviously have the Seaport District, the West Side Highway, just really, how can you partner we had Bjarke Ingels, Joe, at the XP fronts talking about a wellness city that he is building. So it's architecture, it's city planning, it's artists, right? And I think if you're a brand, get in on that. Get in on some of those collaborations. So Joe, I'll give you guys a little sneak peek in January when we're going to be putting that out. But the X list is something we are super excited about for next year.
Well, Marcus, I told you she's going to have a lot of good stuff. I told you this. So.
I didn't have to, listen, Erica, I didn't have to switch to my personal notes. I'm over here writing for the people, but I had, hold on.
Good. That's a good sign.
So we did get a question for you in the chat.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not sure if you can see it on the screen, but it says, Erica, what can you predict for the world of immersive experiences in AR, VR for 2025?
Oh, good. And I will listen. I shared with you that infinite experience where it was communal, because I think, look, we've always been struggling with VR. It's making people feel sick. It's making you lose your bearings, and it's individual, right? So I think that infinite, and that was Felix and Paul with the Phi Center really came together to put that UX layer on it. Really think about every moment from that, when that, look, I could start with every moment when you first learn about an experience, but when they're entering the space, how are they queuing up? What is your throughput of people through your experience, and how are they behaving, throughout every aspect of that? But I do think, and I'm going to borrow from Jeff Renault, awesome agency, Invisible North. He's on our X list. He was sharing about, the facial recognition software that I think everyone freaks out about. But I think facial recognition, this is more of a technology answer. AR and VR, I think it's all about, can you get people to do this communally? But as far as technology goes, I think facial recognition software, Jamie Dolan using it in his locations. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? The Madison Square.
No.
Madison Square Garden, James Dolan has put it to use kind of in a little controversial ways. This was like a year ago. He had people entering the garden and Radio City who were like on legal teams that were suing him, and he like wasn't allowing them in. So that kind of made people like freak out about facial recognition. But if you and he's using it at the Sphere. So if you go to the Sphere, just know your face is being recognized. But if we start using that technology to really let people be in the moment, not answer surveys about how this made you feel, and really look at their faces. Are they smiling? Are they scared? How are they reacting? Are they bored? Like that, I think a challenge of our industry is it's really hard to measure.
That's a great, that's very, very true, because, and I like that Jeff said that. That post I did the other day, because I wanted to like recap some of those predictions, and I was like, yeah, Jeff knows what he's talking about. And it was interesting because it can be used as a tool, but actually it's quite fundamental to what we do for a living, because when you're evoking an emotion, you can't measure that on a survey. You kind of got to go about the nonverbal cues and the facial recognition, and just it's
Erica, you may have to, I don't know, you may have to, you're going to have to write a dissertation on that one, because that's real. And it goes back to like kind of the AI talks we all have, is like, if you use it for the right way, if you use it for the right thing, it can be super beneficial. And just thinking about like, there's always the push of, what are the measurement tools for experiential? What is the return on investment? But if you can say that we have positive sentiment from this event based on facial recognition from this audience who entered, they came in this way, they left this way, they reacted this way at these peak moments, like even as we collect data on videos, you can tell how long somebody's watching something when they drop off. Okay, now you go back and watch your video and know these things. Like they use that's not facial recognition, but that is still using time data to tell you if you how your event is going. So
Right.
I like that.
But look, you brought up a good point. It's dangerous, right? It can be dangerous. So I think we just have to, as creators of experiences, be super transparent about it. Also, you can't ask someone for something without giving them something. So is it and look, I just came up with this in the last 30 seconds. Is it a discounted ticket if you agree to allow your face to be recognized? Like, look, high ticket prices are a big problem for our paid experiences. So is that a way to look, you're going to give me your data of your freaking face? You better give them something in return. But the lack of measurability, it's something that we're all, look, I think, being able to say, oh, this event was so buzzy and had this many social impressions, that only goes so far. And it is a big challenge that we have to face. Because it is the most powerful tactic we have. We know it, guys. We live it. We see it. Sure, a post-event survey, but like, who's answering those? Do you guys answer those?
Sometimes, if I go to a festival, music festival.
Yeah.
Now, here's the caveat though to that. And Marcus, I agree. I've done it, but the best thing I always tell people to do, and I think Erica, you can attest to my ability to do this, is whenever I go to an event for work, for myself, whatever, I try to take my work hat off and I go through an experience to, whatever, I'll recap it on LinkedIn. It doesn't matter, but it's more about like, I want to go through it as the intent. Like we sometimes get wrapped in our little sphere of what we do. And like, if you ask anyone that isn't even in the realm of marketing and advertising, what Art Basel is, they go, I don't even know what that is. So if you go to an Art Basel activation, as someone who's never even heard of Art Basel, your experience, like in itself, the word is going to be vastly different than what us three would do because we're just so inundated with it. So sometimes it's just taking that off, like that hat off of what we're doing, and just let me go and experience it for real. And then I don't care about a post-event survey. I'm going to talk about it for the rest of my life because of how amazing it was.
Exactly. Exactly. I like it.
Love it. So I have a question to close us out here. Is what events are you looking forward to attending in 2025? And would love from the audience, but also Joe, Erica. Want to hear where you want to go this year?
All right. Well, I'm starting with some really tactical things for X-List. I am going to the Next Stage Summit out in LA, which is with a group called No Pro. Do you know No Proscenium? They're cool. They cover like immersive theater. So it's a really creative audience. So I'm doing that. February, I'm hosting a little cocktail here for the X-List at the Shed, which will be cool. At Cedric's at the Shed. March, South by, trying to figure out our plan there. You guys, Joe, we were there last year.
I will be there. Kim, with the Experiential Collective, we're going to be doing another thing. So
I love that. And I hope to check in with Kim soon. I got to figure out my strategy. I will say, I think it's like overwhelming there. And they've a little bit like, I don't know. I ended up finding our experiential people and just kind of making our own micro kind of group, which I think is an opportunity for any brand. But as the you guys, I told you I was at Fast Company. So we created the Fast Company grill years ago. And now I feel like everyone's kind of emulated that and made their own little mini whatever talks, experiences. But like somebody needs to blow that up and do something really different. And the opposite of that, these long lines to wait to get in these things talk about a bad UX.
Trust me, I was a fan of the Snapchat experience at South by because it was so off the beaten path and so far away that there wasn't really a line, and I actually really enjoyed that element of it. So
but that's funny. It was basically the same format, but it was just further away. So people were like, so anyway. But wait, I want to talk about better. Well, it's funny. I'm excited about the World Cup, but that's not till 26.
That's going to be really good.
It's going to be amazing. And in the LA Olympics, like I'm kind of thinking like further out. I don't even know. I haven't even looked. I
Are
mean,
you gonna come to Cannes by any chance,
I
Erica?
am working on another thing I'm working on, the licensing show in Vegas. A lot of great brands there. And I think the licensing show, I will
When
not.
is that?
It's in May. I'll
Okay.
Okay.
probably be like around the licensing show. Joe, what we did with C2 was a really great partnership. And I think creating these micro events within a larger event is kind of our jam this year, at least for XP Land. But, I have some crazy thoughts about what I'd like to do. Just going back to our earlier point about the whole damn thing's experiential. Let's talk about it a little bit more, right? So maybe something kind of fun there. What about you guys? What are you looking forward to, and what should I be doing with you?
Marcus, you lead that charge right there.
I think that for me, like I probably will try to start the year at NBA All-Star this year, as well as I want to do WNBA All-Star. I'm a big basketball person, so I think that there's been a changeover in the athletes, and then the athletes have also built out their brands a little bit more. So I have started to see that they host more like what you call micro events or smaller. They show off their partnership. They show off their ecosystem a little bit more now than they used to.
Yeah.
So last year, like Steph Curry did like 3 events around all of his other brands, right? That not even talking about on the court, just off the court
Yeah.
things. So starting to kind of pay attention there a little bit more.
Hey, Marcus, what did you think of the Emirates Cup?
I thought it was good. I think that this was the year that proved last year. It proved that what they've been trying to develop is making sense because the players are wanting to play. The value around it from a content perspective is really grown. So now you can see media partners probably doubling down next year in that space. I saw quite a few more influencers go out there and brands try to activate around that moment. So I think it's going to be that next kind of peak moment right at the end of fall that people want to go to in Vegas, right? So I think it makes sense.
Yeah.
I gotta say, I've got South by and Cannes, but
Yeah,
there's gonna
definitely
be
can this year.
there's a little bit of a passion part of me that's kind of been involved this year, which is pun intended for our series here. I am gonna try to do what I'm gonna answer your question you asked. What was my experiential awakening? And that is my answer to what events I'm going to. And that is back in my tour days, I used to spend a lot of moments when I wasn't at an event for work to go and find something to do in that city. And that became of an experience of itself. And so that's how I first found Meow Wolf back in 2015, their OG location in Santa Fe.
Yeah.
I want to go and do those experiences, those things that are like, whether it's in the middle of nowhere in Texas or somewhere up in Montana, like I want to do that. So
Yeah, I
I don't know
agree.
if that makes sense, but I want to do that. So
All right, well, take us along on your journey. We'll all take each other along. You guys, I have a boozy holiday lunch waiting for me. But I have really loved this. We obviously could go on all day.
Yes.
Next year, let's do the boozy lunch here. It'd be like
I would love that. Let's do it. Or do it in person at South by Southwest. Let's host our own thing.
Let's do it, guys.
I'm all for it. Marcus, this is obviously amazing that we get to do the 1 year. We thank you everyone for joining and just always watching or chiming in or just engaging with us. And Erica, thank you so much for wanting to be a guest at the end of 2024. How much information you just gave is pretty much we should have charged people.
Oh, please. No, and that's a great way to end it because look, this industry is so freaking exciting. We all just need to join hands and like make it better, do great shit, and share with people how incredible this industry is, So thanks for having me, you guys. You're awesome. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Thanks everyone.
Thank you, everyone.